that allows you to find the getting started guide as well as the shortcuts for the mural space. So definitely, if you have any confusion about that, check those things out. So we already talked about where to find content. Is the bar on the left, and you can then drag those sticky notes out to populate the mural board. The other thing that you can do is that on the mural board itself, you just double click and it creates a sticky note. So you double click to stick. Amazing. That is my now mantra. You can also drag pictures from your desktop right onto the mural. So you can search for images in the image section of the mural bar, or you can click and drag your own from your desktop. If you're trying to add a comment to something, you first click on it to bring up this formatting menu up here. You right click on the object that you want to edit, and it brings up all these options that you can do to it. So to add a comment, and it then gives you the opportunity to write a comment, and you can say, "That's a good motto, Ross." Thanks, Ross. Cool.
Hey, Ross, real quick.
Yes.
There'll be a recording of this later on, right?
Yes.
I think it'll be super helpful for the team leads in our studio to go.
Yeah, totally. And also come into Mural Mondays, because it's going to be directly a space for you to just use it as a place to explore. Yeah, so this part of the recording will be super helpful. And then we talked about formatting. Oh, you have to go. Thanks, Shamik.
See ya.
So formatting, you either click into something, and then the formatting appears on the top. That's so you can change color, size, what the object is, add a link to something. You can change and make it bold, the type of text, and the font typeface, as well as the font size. Cool. I put down some mural tips at the bottom. Any pink fuchsia sticky notes like this, just check them out while we're in the mural space for the rest of the day, so you can look at and see some mural tips. Okay, so I am done with the following part, and now it's for Wenlu and Brandon. I want to give you the opportunity to practice some of the things that I just did. So click off following me and go to the next section here for the mural introductions and icebreakers. Claim one of those squares and start populating the square with your name, DFA studio, current project, and then find one photo that describes you. Either draw it or put those together. And this is what we're going to introduce ourselves with today. So you have 3 minutes. I'm putting it on the clock. If you look up to the top, you'll see a countdown now because I have the magic facilitator powers. So you just take a moment now, and I'll put one too, so that we can all work on this together.
Photo.
If you're looking for images, it's like the mountains with the sunshine on the left toolbar, or you can click and drag a photo from the internet, like from your desktop.
Nice. All right. I am done. I did my intro.
Oh yeah, let's see here. That's some cool. Does anyone have any questions while you're in this time? Feel free to ask.
Yeah, I know sometimes when you when you paste an image, it brings you to a link instead.
Did you paste the image straight from your desktop, or did you copy it from a web browser and then put it in there?
From a web browser.
Yeah, if you have a really cool link there's some weird. So if you're not clicking on anything in the mural, and you go out of the mural, you find this really cool web page you want to share with people in the mural. Just copy the URL at the top, and then just click back to the mural. Don't click anything, but just do Command paste, like Command B, and it will automatically create that kind of mural like link to, like it will link it and create the format. So that Corey's referring to.
Whoa, the confused GIF. I love that, Brandon.
So cool. Okay, you got 30 seconds left.
Nice.
Wenlu.
Oh my god, it's a what's his face from Guardians of the Galaxy? Question mark?
Is it Raccoon, the Rocket? I don't know if it's Rocket.
Maybe it's something.
No, it's Paddington Bear.
Oh,
I
Paddington.
haven't seen
Oh,
the movie.
Yeah,
that's cute.
so cute.
Cute. Okie doke.
I am trying to adjust it.
To adjust something, it's where the circle is. At the bottom right corner is the only one that lets you stretch and compress the images. So when you click on it,
On the
there's this circle that
border?
appears.
Yes. Zoom settings? No.
Oh, click on the image you want to change the size of, and then at the bottom, once it's kind of highlighted, there's
Oh, yeah.
bottom.
I found
So
it.
you like click it to select it, and then you should be able to drag that bottom right corner to adjust the size.
Yeah, sure.
Cool. Okay, great. Time's up. Wenlu, do you want to tell us a little bit more about yourself?
Yes. So, first, I'm from the NYU leadership team, and also I've been to the summit last summer. Oh my God, it's a long time ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to like go again, even if I may be on the work this year, but yeah, it's just so pity that I find out we cannot have it, but also a good thing.
Yeah.
It's better, we do it that way. And also so for me, last year I've been involved with the healthcare system, the immunization empowerment kind of project, and it just made me feel like it gave me a lot of experience, and also getting to our studio and do some daily operational things in our studio and trying to support the NYU community. And we are right now
Nice.
thinking about new things to support, and also just like you do, we're thinking about the tools that we can transfer it to the online collaboration. And I think our tool, our faculty advisor mentioned there's a tool called Mural. It's MIRO.
Yep.
It's just so I don't know if that's the same thing, but yeah, but that's what we're trying to do right now. And also there are few things. Oh, I'm supposed to talk about myself, but yeah, that's
No,
it.
that was a good description of what's going on in your life right now.
Yeah. What is that photo? How does that photo describe you? I'm curious.
That one is so cute, So it just okay. I have to say I put it because I just watched it today.
Oh, cute.
Yeah, and it's a thing that he's kind of the Paddington was in the prison because he was accused for being a thief, but he did not do that. And at that time, the prisoners, all the peers inside the prison are seeing him as a thief, and also do something, insult her, verbally insult her aunt Lucy. So that's when he makes this expression and said, when you do not expect respect any someone, or you don't do this, and I will stare you at this. That's what Lucy told me, and yeah, I just think, oh my God, it's so cute. I just put it here.
Thanks, Wenlu. Brandon, can you explain where you're from, your current project, and how that photo described you?
Yeah, so I'm Brandon from Michigan State University. And so our current project we're working on is with YMCA National, and it's the Change Making project. And right now we're focusing on the online / mentor tutoring. Kind of want to look at how we can connect people at the local level through YMCA to students and those, and try to get that involved. We're flushing everything out right now. So yeah, the photo, I guess like I'm always just super confused about everything. I realize like every single thing. So it's just always just like, I feel like I just see math. I'm just like, well, wait, what's that? And like, trying to watch a movie, like crazy. I'm just like, but the plot, I'm like, this is how it'll end. And I'm just like trying to like figure it out. So that's just pretty much me, I suppose.
Nice.
Cool.
Nice. Thanks for sharing.
Okay, Glory, do you want to go on to the next part?
Yeah, let's move on. I will say that I put a beach picture because I went to the beach earlier today, and technically I wasn't supposed to be. Well, it's Michigan Lake, so it looks like a beach, but it's not a real beach.
Oh yeah, I've been there last time.
Oh yeah, you were.
Yeah.
Okay, so alrighty, I am gonna take over now. Thank you, Ross, and I will do. We're gonna go to the next section, and I'm going to summon you all to look at my screen. Essentially, we have this framework for how to successfully collaborate with your teams when you aren't in the same place. So let me do a summon.
Hey, Glory, I just thought, could you also record or like do a screen share so we record this with the Zoom?
I'm recording with Loom right now.
Oh, okay, great.
Yeah. Alrighty, so the three things that you need to have. Alright, it's a little bit laggy, but I'm gonna go on. So you need to have a tool to see each other with, a tool to work together in, and tools to communicate afterwards when you're not necessarily like in a Zoom meeting. The way that it's structured, we've essentially highlighted 2 or 3 tools within each like grouping, and I'm gonna go over a very quick overview of like what you might use, like sort of like pros and cons of each tool. So starting with Zoom, Zoom is really good for working meetings and then large group calls. It has pretty good bandwidth, and because it is a program that you download, it doesn't have the same like internet issue barriers as Google Hangouts, which runs just on your browser. And so between these 2 tools, both of them can record, but Zoom has a lot more features. Google Hangouts is much better for casual discussion, small groups, meetings where you only really need to talk to each other and you're not working together in something. The great thing about Zoom is that when you shrink down your screen, you can still have like a little icon of whoever you're talking to in the corner while you're looking at like the tool that you're working in together, like Mural, for example. Any questions about Zoom versus Google Hangouts right now? I feel like so far we're pretty familiar with both of them. All right, if that's good to go, here are tools to work together. Tools to work in together. So what we're in right now is Mural, and essentially it is a collaborative whiteboard. As you've seen before and right now, it has really great use of sticky notes. You can draw in it, you can create boards. There are also like frameworks and templates that you can set up in your Mural board. So for example, there's There's like an empathy mapping template that you can use when you're doing research and trying to empathize with your users. You can also create quadrants, and there's a voting session tool that you can do to like do dot voting for your ideas. And so it's really good for general brainstorming and design work. Figma, on the other hand, it is also collaborative. It's also can be a whiteboard, but it's really best for any sort of digital prototyping. The really cool thing here is that you can essentially go from screen to screen and set up a digital prototype so that someone can walk through and like click on certain buttons on your website, on your like fake prototype website, and then the next screen will pop up as if it was a real website that they were experimenting in. So both of these tools are free. They're really easy to use, but Figma is really more for websites, apps, user flows, anything that involves UI, UX, any like digital interface. That's what you would want to be using Figma for. An alternative is Sketch for the Mac if you have a MacBook Pro or a MacBook or a Mac, I should say. Sorry, I'm a traditional PC user. And it's very similar to Figma. Any questions so far about Mural or Figma or Sketch? If not, then I'll move on to communication tools. So we've highlighted 3 here, and I'll just go through them one by one. So the first is When to Meet. This is a super simple like meeting coordination like website. Essentially, you can set up an event title and then the date ranges and the time ranges that you're trying to arrange a meeting in, and then it'll create a web page that you can send to other people. And essentially, you click and drag and highlight all of the times you're available. So this is particularly useful if you're trying to coordinate a meeting with your team and everyone's in a different time zone and like some people are asleep when you're sending out this message. So it's good for coordinating like what are all the possible times that you can meet, and then when essentially all of the times that are where everyone is available will be like a darker shade of green. So really quick and easy for setting up those meetings, first of all. The next tool is Slack. Essentially, if you're not on Slack, you should be, but it's essentially email meets group text. So it is a desktop program. You can also have it open on your phone, on your mobile device, or in your browser. It's essentially a expanded chat platform that has channels within it where you can have like private chat channels with specific people or larger groups, and then like a general chat channel. So this is really good for communicating with your studio, keeping everyone in the loop. It's also a free workspace. And DFA uses this a lot. So like we talked about before, we have an alumni Slack and also a DFA like student network Slack. Internally, we also use Slack in the DFA national team. All right, the last tool for communicating is Notion. Let's see, just so you know, the like images that you see, so like this like gradient image, if you double click that, it'll bring you to the link. And you can sort of explore Notion on your own, as well as Slack and all of the other tools that we mentioned. The one that I have linked here is it's a Notion page from DFA Rice. And so they were essentially using this as a studio home base where they put their events on their calendar as well as to-dos for team leads. And so Notion is a fully customizable web page essentially, and it's really good for project management. And so for anyone in the studio lead role or even a team lead role, even within teams, it's really good for populating all of the links and the tools and the deadlines and the to-dos in one place so that everyone can look in this page and stay really organized. Notion does have a little bit of a learning curve, but once you go through the tutorials and understand the basics, it's really easy to use. And the best thing about it is that it's very visual. So in comparison to Google Drive, where there's a specific like folder structure, there's a hierarchy for you to navigate between different files. You can see all of those and organize them in multiple ways in Notion, which makes it a lot easier for visual people to learn and understand and like consume information. So that is a quick overview of like DFA vetted tools and resources. I want to know if Wenli or Brandon, if you have any questions about these in specific, or if there were other tools in mind that you already know about and want to share. Yeah.
Interested in the Notion. I've never heard of that before, but that does sound like it could be pretty handy, because I feel like with Slack, I'm always posting a bunch of links and things everywhere, but it always seems to get lost because of all the other stream of information.
Right. Yeah.
That sounds nice, just having like one web page kind of like ish to just customize and have everything there, because our Google Drive too, yeah, like you said, it just feels so like hierarchical, and it's like you have to know what you're looking for.
Yeah. Let's see. Notion, essentially you can have like a home page, and then you can put more pages under that. I really like it because you don't have to worry about the like visual hierarchy per se, and you can put whatever you want in it. And so you can see in the link in the DFA Rice's like DFA book for fall 2019, they have their calendar first, and then they have a bunch of like tasks at the bottom. Notion is cool because you can essentially just like click and drag and rearrange those items. So if you wanted, like if you were the owner of this page, you can just drag the to-dos to the very top, and then that's how the page would look. So it really is quite easy.
Yeah, that sounds nice. I like when you're saying it's a good project management tool. That I think, especially as a like ticket studio as a whole, there are multiple projects, and we can see different levels of the status. So if we, I think it's a good tool. And also, in our studio, although we have the Slack, but we're more using it as a sharing place rather than a communication place. And it's just for our studio, it's easier to communicate through the emails. And also we also use the One2Meet, and it's really like easy to use and a nice tool to know when everybody is available. And after we confirm the time, we're gonna send the Google Calendar invitation for this. So yeah, that's how our studio do this.
Yeah, the other cool thing about Notion is that it integrates with a lot of other things. And so if you're doing research, for example, there's a little widget that you can add to Google Chrome, where essentially if you're like researching on a web page and you want to save that page, all you do is paste it into your like Notion page, and it'll turn it into a little it'll essentially like save the link for you like a bookmark. And then the other thing is that if you paste anything from Google Drive, so a document or a spreadsheet, those will also be embedded in the Notion page with like visuals too. So there's a lot of different ways to integrate Notion with other platforms that you're already using. Sweet. Okay. Next things, Ross? You want to take it over?
Yeah. With the next things, and just to wrap up some other things, so if you have any other recommendations, please take some time to put them below at the end of the call. And then I just wanted to comment too, when it comes to Slack or any type of Notion or wherever you're setting people to communicate, if it's by email, once you figure out the norm that works best for your studio or your particular group of people, making it so that that's the only place that people have to go to get things is really a nice way to like say, okay, like we're using Slack and like this is how we're going to use it, and taking the time and the space to do that. Otherwise, like you're sending emails and then no one's looking at the Slack because then they go into their email habits. So just be mindful of like setting one and putting a stake in the ground, saying like this is how we're going to use this, and if you're not on it, you're not on it. So that's just things to consider. Okay, final things. Let's see, I'm getting back into the mural board. So let's move on to the last section here, strategizing for the future. We want to take some time too. We've been asking a lot of studios what they're concerned about and how what things they would like to do. And part of this running a DFA studio is really that human connection that you make with your studio mates. So we want to take some time. I think we'll just do another 3-minute sticky note brain dump for each of these questions. We really want to identify like how can we create some ideas to share out with the network about how you can build DFA studio culture remotely. We started populating some ideas as we were creating this mural, but let's take 3 minutes now to let's just do 2 minutes. Take some sticky notes and start putting some stuff below this. And then if you have, how are you surviving the apocalypse will be next, but we'll get to that in a second. So if you're in a mural, you can also, or in a sticky note, press tab when you're like the blinkers on and it will populate with more stickies next to it too. It's just a fun tip when we're doing that. So I'll put the timer for 2 minutes. Try to populate as much as you can. Timer's going. Let's see how we can think of some things. One of the frameworks that was helpful for me when I was thinking about this is like, what stuff do we miss doing and how can we translate that to the digital sphere?
That's a really good question. My studio used to do like a picnic at the end of every term, which was really nice.
Yeah, so maybe it's like that virtual picnic.
It's a drawing.
Uh-oh. I have to type and I don't.
It looks like an orange.
Oh no, this is not.
Oh, it's a smiley face. I love it.
Okay, we've got 30 seconds left. Let's see if we can get 2 more each. I like the drawing.
Ooh, kachakachas. Kachakacha.
What is a peacock? You'll tell us in a second. Okay, wrap up your last thought. Let's see, Brandon, can you share out a little bit quickly, like the top ideas that you came up with, or do like a 30-second overview of your ideas?
Yeah, so first one is like maybe like an online scavenger hunt, like, I don't know, like search through YouTube or just like something random to find some very specific thing.
Oh, wow.
Just kind of like over Zoom or something.
Yeah.
Smiley face, smile. Online retreat, because we want to do a retreat this semester, but we won't be able to do that. So maybe like have like a whole night we hang out or something. And then maybe just like an online party with online games, because I know there's like Cards Against Humanity online. So
yeah, or Jackbox.
Yeah, yep.
Jackbox is so fun.
I haven't checked out Jackbox yet. Okay, Wenli, what about you?
So right now we're doing the coffee time is like gather someone around at a certain time and like actually it's drink whatever you want time and like everyone like kind of like speak randomly or like sharing their experience or tell us their concerns, or we're thinking about come up with a topic that we can talk together, maybe like a design or an interest recently, that kind of thing. We kind of want to like make this makes the community more engaged and closer to each other. And another thing I've been thinking is study time, is study together, because it's a fun story. I like the feeling that a study with feeling that there's someone else there studying with me, and I kind of like enjoy, and it kind of motivate me to focus on the thing. So I just want to say, if there anyone like would like to join us for this kind of thing, it's also help for them to like study at home.
Cool. Thanks for sharing. So who here knows what Pachakacha is?
I have no idea.
Okay. I don't know how effective it would be digitally. I mean, it probably would still be the same thing, but essentially, Pachakacha, it has Japanese origins, I believe. Essentially, it is a 20 slide presentation where you spend 20 seconds on every slide. And so usually it's this like style of presentation format that is used around the world. Like people use this. It's pretty widely known. I mean, maybe not you all, but old people know this. Old people like me. And people will host like Pachakacha gatherings and essentially have like one featured speaker do a really quick like 10-minute presentation, super, super fast, so that you don't like lose your attention. You don't lose the audience's attention because the presentation is going so quickly. It's usually on like a fun, engaging topic, and then you have a discussion afterward. That's what Pachakacha is.
Cool. The fun PowerPoint night, I think, is like my counter to that. My friend put together a drunk PowerPoint night where you get together and like we'll put together a presentation about anything you want, and then you just hang out and do these really wacky presentations. I think that's similarly in the vein of Pachakacha. Anyway, amazing. Before we go to the next one, the how you are surviving the apocalypse, like anything fun and exciting that you want to share out or you think is really entertaining. Are there any other pressing questions from you two about studio life? Questions that you are like, just now that we're remote, anything you want to discuss while you have us on the call for the remainder of this?
So I have one thing that I really want to discuss is, due to this certain time, it's really a little bit hard for us to recruit for next semester's leadership team. Like ask for them, would you like to work for DFA? It's a volunteering job, and you're gonna be in the leadership team and lead it, and got a lot to prepare for the next semester. It's kind of hard to like bring this up because there's so many concerns right now for people, and there are so many uncertainties for the students, and we're just, although it's that's the thing, we've been concerned, and I just want to discuss this with you guys and see if you guys have some ideas about it.
Yeah, it is hard to bring up, like, to make people think about August and September, when right now it's like news is changing so quickly and it's like really uncertain. I don't think you have to worry about it in depth yet, but I think a good first step is just to raise up the question to your studio and get an understanding of who are the underclassmen who previously were really invested in DFA. If you know who those people are, then I think it might happen more casually. Do you have underclassmen people on your leadership board right now?
No, actually.
Okay.
So the thing is, I think there's 5 of us on the leadership team. Only Yeah. Actually, there is one. There is one left for next semester, but all the rest of us gonna graduate this May. So. So it's kind of a big transaction.
Yeah. I think so. This is my opinion. Ross, you can chime in later, but the way I would approach it is to, have an all studio meeting and be very transparent with everyone to say, like, we know there's a lot of people in crisis right now, and it's very uncertain. We're all working from home. Things are different, but it doesn't mean that we have to put everything on hold. And the truth is that we need to have leaders step up for DFA next year, because if we don't, then you won't have the opportunity to participate in DFA anymore if we don't have a studio, right? So I think that's one way that you can start the conversation and get people to understand your position and to understand that there's a need for people to step up in responsibility. And then I think you can outline some next steps for like how your members can reach out to you if they are interested in some level of responsibility. Maybe they don't want to be studio lead, but they want to participate in some other ways. I think it's good to be more flexible than not in this scenario right now.
Yeah, I agree.
In addition, I also recommend reaching out to your mentor, Anne Lore, about and seeing what her perspective is. And I know you mentioned recruitment as being a possible concern within the current NYU studio setup, that there aren't necessarily students that feel like it's in their bandwidth to become those leaders. Seeing if she has any contacts or can help recommend students from her circles or the design presence on NYU's campus to see if they have any recommendations as well. But also using like your internal network. DFA is this kind of family. It's the family. So if people know someone that they feel like would be good, you also want to just make sure you identify and have real conversations with them and tell them why you think this individual would be good for a particular role. Or maybe you're not, maybe like right now, we don't have presidents. Maybe we have two presidents. Like when it comes to that flexibility, what are the key essentials that need to happen to get you prepared and package up all the work that you've done this term? And then what can you put down the road to address later after a lot of the most hectic things have passed?
Yeah, sure. We'll do we're kind of like work closely with Amber, and we have discussed about it, and we decide to like gradually bring it out and not to like, so it just, so I just still want to hear about you guys, what's your opinion about it, but thanks.
Yeah, and definitely, if you want to set up a one-on-one with me too, you're more than welcome to do that, so that I can discuss next steps with the rest of your studio leadership team as well, as you're thinking about this.
Yeah, sure. I'll talk to them and see if, thanks for this offer.
Yeah. Brandon, how are you feeling about studio stuff and like the national project?
Yeah, so currently we're kind of we're going with the flow.
Cool.
We're gonna get to the end of the national project. That's our foremost goal.
Got it.
And so that's our mindset, and probably the summer is when we're probably gonna start thinking more about leadership and trying to get everyone. We're gonna recruit actually this Thursday for our test. We're gonna ask if they want to join DFA, and it's like a
sweet
design focused course that we're testing with. It's one of our mentors has a class they teach.
Amazing.
Nice. Yeah, you were talking about that.
Oh, sounds nice.
Okay, that sounds good. I think it's perfectly fine to just focus on the national project. Like, it's a big job. And you guys are doing really well. I'm excited for it.
Yeah, both the NYU team too.
Yeah,
that's true. I'm blown away. I love getting onto the calls and seeing where everyone goes.
Your presentations are beautiful. I don't know how you design all that, but that's just
Oh my god. +1 on that. I totally agree. Like, you have whoever is on your team putting together the presentations has really good like visual design.
Yeah. It's very nice to see. And Brandon, you should ask that in the Slack. That's what the Slack is for. Like, don't feel like you have to reserve those things. Just we want those questions to be asked casually, like they are happening right now.
Okay.
I'm a big proponent of using the Slack because everyone's right there. That's your portal to talk to people. So I'm very, very passionate about the Slack because FYI, I never used it when I was a studio mate at all either. But now that I see that it's a place where everyone can communicate with each other, I'm like, are you on the Slack? Have you asked someone on the Slack? So that's my point of view, just so everyone's aware.
Sweet. Okay. How about we round out with just like a verbal, what is everyone doing to stay occupied and have fun while being home-based?
Wow, that's a lot to...
One thing. I can start off. Let's see. Last night after work, I still had a lot of energy, so I did some bookbinding. You know what? This is cool. It's like show and tell.
Nice.
So this is a book that I bound on my own. And then I tried to do like a long stitch on the back, and it got kind of messy. So then I got creative, and I did this like weave in the binding. But yeah, it's a book, and it works like a journal. So, ta-da! That's my thing.
Wow.
Thank you.
That's cool.
That's really cool. Gloria, we should do our bookbinding tutorial remotely.
Oh goodness. We could.
We could.
Many things we could do.
I'll go next. I started doing a lot more board games because I'm living with my boyfriend and his roommate at the moment. So the three of us, we started a Monopoly game last week. There's some fun games. I've also been trying to just walk and have a regular routine and trying to cook more things.
Nice.
At least my boyfriend cooks more things for me, which I greatly appreciate. But I'm also participating in some way.
Cool.
Yeah, I like this cooking thing. Like on Tuesday or on Monday, I bought 4 the recipe book online.
Oh wow!
I've been inside the apartment for so long. I can't stand for eating myself. So FYI, my cooking is really bad. The best thing I do is boil everything or just put them in the oven.
Okay.
So that's how far I've going so far, but I've decided I must become a good cook.
Yes.
So yeah.
That's exciting.
Yeah.
Cool. And Brandon,
what about you?
Yeah, so cooking, that's the theme. That's pretty much what's the new thing. I've been making hot sandwiches every day for lunch. So I'll just throw it on the skillet and just, I don't even know. Sometimes I make really weird things, but it's always good.
Innovation.
Cool.
Yeah, you can host the DFA cooking channel.
We should have a DFA cook-off.
Forward to it. I will subscribe it.
Cool.
Alrighty. Thank you everyone for coming to this call and sharing. It's nice to just talk to each other and see each other's faces, especially since now things are so different. Yeah. Any last words, Ross?
Thank you again. And if you're looking for more Mural magic, definitely call into Mural Mondays and sign up on the calendar. And I'll see you then.
Sure. Thank you all. Thank you for this.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Bye.
Bye.
Yeah, sure. Bye.
Bye.